Good morning, guys. Merry Christmas Eve. Today is actually the 23rd of December. I'm gonna set you guys down right here. So I know this says Christmas Eve vlog, and it is, but we're starting on the 23rd because we're doing all the cooking and stuff for tomorrow's Christmas Eve dinner. I'm gonna take you along with me today. I'm gonna check on the garden really quick while Milo goes insane in the background, and then we're gonna get some eggs. We're gonna do some cooking. My grandmother is inside currently doing la pierna, which is a pork leg. We're Cuban, so we prepare a pork leg every Christmas Eve. So she's inside doing that, and then my dad is coming down today. So we're gonna try to do all of the stuff that I'm responsible for before my family gets here, so it's not as crazy in the kitchen. Let's go. Alright, so every morning I do a quick check of the garden before the sprinklers come on. I think they're set to come on at like 10 or 10:30, and just to make sure it's not going to be like a full garden tour or anything. But I check on these little tomatoes, which are coming out for the first time. We have one tiny little one right there in the background, and then I thought I had seen some other ones in here somewhere, but just making sure that everything is, you know, still doing well. And then I know we have some green beans coming out here, so I check on the green beans, see when it is the next time that we can harvest these. And Milo wants to play. You can probably hear him crying in the background. The same thing. So we have quite a few green beans that we can actually harvest pretty soon. I'll probably wait until right before we go out of town after Christmas. Tomatoes are looking good. We have kale and Swiss chard also looking pretty good here. I just checked for any signs of like pest, disease, anything like that. We do have some Romas. These are Roma tomatoes, and I have them trellising kind of like up against this back trellis, which is not really the best way to trellis Romas, but I don't really have another way right now, so that seems to be working out. And then our radishes, I'm hoping maybe they actually pick up because it is surprisingly chilly out here. The last 2 days after I made a video saying that it had been like in the 80s. Of course, it got cold almost immediately. So, you know, go figure. But I just come in here and I tap on my little Roma tomato flowers, all my little tomato flowers. I just come in here and I just give them a quick little tap. It helps them self-fertilize, self-pollinate, whatever you want to call it. My arugula also needs to be cut, so I might take some of that with me when I go to collect eggs now. Parsley's looking crazy, even though I cut this all of the time. I have a sea of parsley here. It goes till about right there, so I definitely overseeded the parsley, but that's fine because we use it a ton. And I'm so excited for my little baby carrots. So I planted out carrots during the last garden tour. I didn't think they were going to actually grow because, I mean, it's, you know, it's not really cool outside. They'll germinate, of course, because it's warm, but let's see how it actually goes. And Milo's standing there waiting for somebody to pay attention to him. And I am noticing that we have been getting something, I'm not sure exactly what, something eating some of this mustard. They haven't really made it over to the other side yet, and I haven't been able to see exactly what it is, but I'm gonna come in here and maybe put down some diatomaceous earth. It just seems to affect a few leaves. It doesn't seem to have, you know, gotten too far out of control yet, but I can't find any like actual pest. I haven't seen what it is yet. Probably some sort of a cutworm. And then our lemon thyme, these ones are starting to bolt, so I'll take these with me to the chickens as well. I'll put them in the little chicken bucket there. Alright, so just gonna grab some of the arugula here, just the bigger stems. Usually the ones that are like more, you know, developed, more woody, they taste a little bit more bitter, so I try to get those ones for the chickens. And then we put them in that little airtight chicken basket. This is essentially all of our food scraps. You have some like ground beef, you have some sweet potato skins, rice, anything left over from the kitchen goes in here, but it's a little bit it's not as full today, so we're gonna grab some of these ones that I know are going to be a little bit more bitter for us to eat, and they're going to the chickens. Alright, and my grandmother is here preparing the pork. So this is a pork leg, we call it una pierna asada. She's basically stabbing the pork until she can get all of this concoction in here, which is naranja agria. So it's like this sour orange mix. She couldn't find sour oranges up here since we came up from Miami. I don't think that's in the stores. And then she's taking garlic and salt and just pouring it and stabbing it into the pork. ¿Qué está haciendo, abuela?
¿Eh?
¿Qué está haciendo?
Metiéndole el agrio.
Okay. And of course Milo's here waiting patiently to see if something else will drop. So I was planning on starting off today with actually making natilla, which is a Spanish cream custard that we always make for Christmas. However, last night I went to go take out the ingredients and Milo had actually eaten all of the eggs out of my egg basket from on top of the countertop. So first of all, we need to go and collect some eggs. Every other day or so when we come to collect eggs, we give them all of the kitchen scraps as well, and then they fight over them. Ooh. And then while they do that, we'll come in here and collect our eggs. Please get off my car. Get down. Right now. Roy, get down. Now. All the way off. Shoo. No, don't pet. Get off my car. Ugh. Come on. Go. Go fetch it. Go. Shoot. Get off. No. Ugh. Get off my car. Off. Now. Off. What is wrong with you? Alright, see you guys later. I'll be back. Can you move away from my car so you don't get run over, please? No? Alright, so I'm gonna do the natilla, which is the Spanish custard. It's like a vanilla creamy custard type of thing. But when I was preparing the ingredients, I realized that I didn't have any more vanilla, so I had to go get vanilla from the store. And I ordered these off Amazon a few days ago, luckily, so I have to make more homemade vanilla. I am gonna do that now, and then that will be ready in about 3 or 4 weeks. So I have actual like vanilla from the store so I can use in this recipe, but I will leave these ones in the description. I think they were like not that expensive. So I'm going to go ahead and open the packet, and here we go. The first thing to make vanilla, it's actually super easy, and I think this is like 30 ounces, this jar. So it's not a small thing. I wanted to make as much as possible. And then it's basically, oh my god, and that smells amazing. So vanilla beans and vodka. We don't drink a lot of vodka, so we've had this for a while, and I figured why not make vanilla out of it. All right, so it's basically just these two ingredients, and that's really, really strong. I am gonna use like maybe 5 vanilla beans for this recipe, and they just kind of look like that. They're like stringy and just like dried out bean pods. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your vanilla bean and cut it in half. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just gonna open it up to release these like vanilla, I guess these are what you would actually call the vanilla beans inside of it. And so you want that part to be exposed enough for the vodka to actually like, you know, do its thing and make vanilla extract. So I'm gonna try to do that as neatly as possible without it getting all over my hands, which doesn't seem to be working. But I'm gonna go ahead and put them inside my bottle here. I'm gonna do that with all of them. All you do is you fill that. I have my funnel here so I can actually get it inside the bottle. I'm not very good at doing that freehand. And then I'm gonna just pour in my vodka. All right, so that looks pretty good. As long as it's covering the actual vanilla beans, that should be fine. And then all you do is you put this in a dark place for the next couple of weeks, and in about a month or so, 3 or 4 weeks, then it is ready to go. You can see all of the vanilla beans coming out and floating around in there already. All right, okay, so now on to making the natilla. Basically, it's Spanish custard, but you take all the ingredients and you put them all in one thing and then heat it up. Essentially, there's a whole bunch of different recipes online, but the way that my family does it and the way we've always done it is probably the simplest version you're ever gonna find. So we're gonna come over here. I already have all my ingredients on the countertop over here. I'll set you guys right here so you can see what I'm doing. All right, and of course, our eggs from this morning. So we are actually going to be putting them in these little jars. I just think that they're adorable, perfect little size for dessert. These are actually yogurt jars. When I used to buy yogurt, and sometimes like I'll get a jar of this just to do like the starter for my homemade yogurt, I will just save these, rewash them, and then use them for things like this. All right, so I'm going to take roughly that much milk. It's like 3/4 of a gallon. You can definitely do it with less for less people. Basically, how much milk you put into it is more or less like the amount that you're gonna get. So we're gonna have around 15 of these. That should be probably, you know, just enough to fill them about up to there or so. We're not gonna fill them all the way up. This recipe is going to be different than the ones that you find online because this is my grandmother's recipe. She's 97, and whenever she tells me like a recipe, so I'll ask her, you know, how to make something that, you know, a recipe that's been in our family or something that she really likes to make, I have to watch her in order to get the recipe because she refuses to actually give me the amounts for recipes. So when I'm asking her, she said just put as much milk as you want, a little bit of vanilla, some sugar, cornstarch, and a few eggs. That's what she said. So we have been, you know, going back and forth on this, and I'm gonna make the amount that I think, and generally custard is pretty simple to make, so I don't think it's gonna come out, you know, super messed up, but we shall see. So I'm gonna combine all of these things on the stove, but it's not on yet, right? Because I want everything to still be cold. So I'm not gonna heat this up as of right now. I'm gonna do all the ingredients first. All right, and I'm gonna take, for that much milk, I'm probably gonna take about 3 or 4 tablespoons of vanilla. I really like vanilla, so I'm just gonna make it that way. And then you can always add in more stuff as you go along. All right, so next I'm going to do the sugar. I'm not gonna wait until this is warm because I'm not really super concerned about this dissolving. Like, it'll dissolve as we go along. And so I'll take maybe 2 cups of sugar for that amount. I don't love things very, very sweet. I know a lot of other people in my family do. So I'm gonna make it like moderately sweet. Let's see how it turns out. And again, if I need to add more after this, if I need to add more sugar or any of this, then I'll add in all of that stuff. Once it's like in the middle of cooking, you can add in as you go. Alright, so I'm going to take my whisk and stir and just make sure everything is mixed properly. Alright, so once all that is dissolved, I'm going to take 3 large eggs, and I'm only going to use the egg yolks. So let's see if we can do this without getting too many shells in here. I'm going to let the white dissolve. I'm going to let the white just kind of drain out. Normally I would use the whites for something else, but I'm not really doing that much more cooking today, so I'm just going to toss them. And I've also actually been monitoring the color of these egg yolks. Sometimes they're a lot more orange. This time they seem to be a little bit more yellow, just because we don't really free range the chickens every single day. We do let them out, like this morning. I let them out, and then towards the end of the day, I will go back and just make sure that they are all in their coop. But since we don't live on that property, we do errands, and then we just let them out as we, you know, kind of go around town and put them back in. So they free range like half the time. Alright, so now that this is completely dissolved in here and everything is starting to smell really vanilla-y, I'm going to take the little strainer I have here, and I'm going to make sure that this is completely strained through before it goes in here. And remember, this is still cold, right? So this isn't like going to cook the eggs or any of that. Alright, so we'll stir that in, and then I'm going to put like 2 tablespoons or so of cornstarch, and then I'm going to put it on like a medium-low heat. And this isn't a very exact recipe, as you can tell. Same thing, make sure that's nice and stirred in. And if you really wanted to, you can take that same cornstarch and put it through the strainer also. Honestly, I just forgot, but generally that's what you do to make sure nothing is like super clumpy. Although I don't think it's really going to make too much of a difference because this whisk is doing its job. Alright, so in the meantime, I'm stirring that every couple minutes, but I still have one more gift to wrap for Christmas, and it is Alan's niece's gift. So we ordered her a few little things, but the main thing we ordered her is she's like really into incense and kind of things like that. So this is a packet of incense, and there's 6 different like tubes of incense or whatever you call them, I'm not exactly sure. So all of them are like a different scent, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap them all individually and then put them inside this box, and then I'm going to put them inside a bigger box. So let's see how that works. Done. It tastes like kind of a cream or a creme brulee. I did end up adding cinnamon, 2 more egg yolks just because it was a lot of milk and so it wasn't thickening as much as it should have been. So I added 2 more egg yolks, a little bit of salt, and some cinnamon just to taste. And there you go, natilla. Alright, so these have been cooling now for a little bit on the countertop. I'm going to go ahead and take some cinnamon, and I'm actually not going to use the little piece that comes with it. I'm just going to pour it onto my hand and then sprinkle it because I don't want too much on top of each one of these. And then I'll put them in the fridge. Come here, puppy. Do you want to play? Can I have it? Playtime break? All right, go. All right, guys, so it is Christmas Eve. I'm so excited. The pork leg smells amazing. The entire house smells like garlic. All the stuff is ready to go, and I just have to make the focaccia. This morning, everyone was up early wrapping presents. All the family got in, my dad got in, and has been wrapping presents ever since. So they dipped out to go get some last minute like wrapping and stuff like that they were missing. Alan went with my dad, and the house is finally quiet. Let me show you what's going on in the kitchen. So the most important is the pierna asada. So this is our leg of pork. Or pork leg. This is completely filled with garlic and sour orange, just like you saw my grandmother seasoning it yesterday. And then this top layer here is like nice and crunchy and crispy. So what we'll do is when we go to serve it, we'll take off the top layer and you cut it into pieces, and it is so delicious. So on top of that, we have our black beans, and this is also my grandmother's recipe. We always make this, well, we make black beans a lot because we're Cuban, but we always make this for Christmas Eve, and we'll get the rice going. And also we have our bread machine. Oops, we have our bread machine here, and I am actually making some bread, not for tonight. I don't want to open it, but I don't think you can see inside of that. So I'm going to use this bread from the bread machine, and I'm going to make French bread. So what happens is you prepare it overnight. It's an overnight French bread thing, and you use like all the normal ingredients for French bread, but you add some cognac to the egg mixture and like cinnamon and things like that, you know, season it however you want, and you let that sit overnight, and then you bake it in the morning, and it is amazing. Alright, so the last thing that I'm actually going to make today is our focaccia bread, and I use this recipe. It is by Gimme Some Oven, and it's this specific recipe. I will leave it linked below, but this is the one that I've always used for making focaccia, and it turns out amazing every single time. So I like to double the recipe since I'm making for a lot of people. I love making it with rosemary because, of course, as you know, we have tons of rosemary, but I'm also going to be preparing the pork belly. So I have this cut of pork belly, which has a really nice marble on the side. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it has a lot of really nice marbling going on and a nice really thick layer of skin on the bottom part of it, or fat, or whatever it is. And so I'm going to be preparing that, and then I will be putting that in the fridge overnight and cooking that tomorrow as an appetizer for Christmas. Alright, so before I get into actually preparing the meat, the first thing I'm going to do is proof the yeast so that I can let that sit. I think it's like 5 or 10 minutes or so, just so that it can proof before I get into actually making the focaccia. Alright, so while that proofs, I am going to cut open my pork belly. I'm going to give it a quick rinse, and then I'm going to prepare it so that I can cook it tomorrow. And you want to use a very, very sharp knife for this. I'm using this knife instead of my regular kitchen knives because this is extraordinarily thick, and I don't want to have to like cut myself when I'm trying to do this. So I'm just going to score it. I am going to score it more than I normally do. Normally I would just score the top a little bit, but I'm going to cut it almost all the way through the meat so that when it cooks, not only will the flavors sink all the way in, but then I can use this as an appetizer and it'll already be pre-cooked, and then I can just cut it into little pieces instead of having to struggle with actually cutting through the hide. I want to make sure that this is completely dry on the top, which is what is going to make it nice and crispy. And then I'm going to take salt and basically just sprinkle it all over the place. Don't worry, you will wipe some of this off because what happens is the salt is going to draw out the moisture in this. And I'll leave it overnight in the fridge. And then in the morning there will be a lot of like watery kind of, you know, whatever in that pan. And so then you can wipe it off and clean it, and it'll be perfectly fine once it goes in. It won't have this much salt on it. All right, so then all you're gonna do is put it in a pan with all the salt on it. You're gonna put it this side up, the hide side up, and then you're gonna leave it in the fridge. When all the moisture and the water comes out of it, you're gonna basically clean that off. You're trying to get as much moisture out of this as possible. And then when you put this to cook in the morning, after having sat out a couple hours or preferably overnight, then you flip it upside down so the hide part is touching the bottom of the pan, and it has a little bit of grease on it. And so when that comes into contact with the grease, it bubbles up and you get a nice crispy top of the pork belly. Alright guys, so I am off to make the rest of the focaccia and just get ready, do my hair, my nails, all of that good stuff. Thanks so much for watching, for following along with me on Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve Eve. Merry Christmas, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!